Hey, it's Shabes, and welcome to another edition of AniTube Digest, where we go over the best and not-so-best anime YouTube videos to come out this week, from the 21st of September to the 28th of September, without my face, and it's not because my camera's broken this time. I'm kind of electing it myself to do it because I had eye surgery on Thursday, and I'm still recovering. I don't know how long the recovery will be, but I have to constantly kind of close one eye or the other, and both my eyes have, like, they're bloodshot. They look like they have blood in them and stuff, so it's, like, not a very pleasant thing for you to watch, so I decided to just hold off on the visuals this time, and we're just going to talk about these videos I did, watch, even though it was, had some difficulty with it. But yeah, the first video I'm going to talk about was not good. I'm not actually that salty about it, but I did end up watching and not coming away very favorably of it. And I don't necessarily, okay. I always like prefacing not goods and couching it in whatever. Yeah, so I didn't really like the Super Eyepatch Wolf video this week. The Fall of Bleach 4 years later. I am sorry on the thumbnail. I have not seen all of Bleach yet. I am just starting a Roncar arc. And I'm totally cool with, not with being kind of spoiled a bit. I did watch all of it. I don't know why he gave you a spoiler warning for just Soul Society, but then didn't really bother to do it for the rest of it, which was weird. He just really kind of plows through a lot of the rest of it. But that was a very strange choice. But yeah, it's another instance. This is kind of a predictable choice for me because I usually don't enjoy videos from Eyepatch Wolf when they're negatively skewed, and this is negatively skewed, despite what the branding and everything would kind of lead you to believe, where it's like he's walking back on his comments that of his first very popular Bleach video, and he spends the first 5 minutes talking about the faults of that initial video, and how he shouldn't have taken the popularity ranks or whatever. And he basically tried to craft this narrative of the descent in popularity, the seemingly descent of popularity, and try to kind of correlate it to the qualities of the story as, like, objective proof the story got worse, which is kind of silly. But the problem is he pretty much still does that in this video. It's just with different stats, like sales figures or whatever. And there's still problems with taking those particular stats, I think. I mean, he can still have his opinions about Bleach, but, like, I feel like it's just weird that you have to couch them in this objective, like, oh, it did decline or whatever. I think it's still kind of conspiratorial to even bother with that sort of thing. I feel like he could have spent the video with the same opinions, but I don't like that he still tried to take this objective slant towards it, of, like, trying to really find this reasoning for it. And the other problem and the disappointing thing about it is that it doesn't seem like he's changed that much in his opinions about Bleach. Like, it's kind of similar echoing of what he did in the previous video, and he's just kind of retooling it 4 years afterwards, where he's made more videos, he's made more compelling narratives, and he's become better at making videos. I think all of his videos this year have been very good. I've enjoyed pretty much all of them, I think. But even the ones that are not that positively skewed, like the Shenmue video, I did enjoy to an extent, because he took you through his struggle and his frustration with the game, and kind of led you through that. But I don't feel like he learned anything. There's not much different with this video that I could tell from his previous video, besides that, misinformation, which I think he just kind of recouches into a different thing. Although I will say the best part about this video is the way he really addresses his critics, I think, or like the people who kind of use it. I love this point that he made where the video, he's like, you shouldn't be using my video as an argument, like, for, like, if people send you my video, if you're a fan of Bleach and people send you my video of why Bleach is bad or something, those people can go fuck themselves. That's not what I'm trying to do. Although it's still going to happen. That's exactly what people will do, and people have done with his previous video. And that's why that's kind of the rub of having such a big platform, and why it's still, no matter how you feel about your platform, how much you don't feel like you deserve it, which he also kind of expresses in this video. Again, I like the transparency for sure, and it's refreshing to hear from such a big voice. But at the end of the day, it's still a big voice, and people are still going to take your opinions that way. And I will say I didn't watch all of What the What's rebuttal towards you, and I know he's shared some DMs, and maybe there'll be a conversation that happens, and maybe there'll be the further discussion here. And again, this is not coming up from a Bleach fan, quote unquote. I like what I've seen of Bleach. I only started watching it this year. But from what I do know of it, and from the videos that I've seen from What the What, for example, who is a big Bleach fan, I really do think you kind of missed the mark on what Bleach is trying to do. Which I'm not the one to really articulate that. First of all, this is very off the cuff, and I haven't read all of it. I'm not the one to make this argument for or against Bleach or whatever. I will say What the What did a more thorough job with Kraftsdorf, Mathwiz, and this DBZ Iron Man. I'm sorry, I butchered that. He was a relatively newer face to me. I didn't watch all of it either, so I'm not going to try to like parrot there. And then my criticisms of the video are not necessarily because they have problems with it, right? Although obviously they're clearly not happy. But like I think it was a mistake that, even if it's tongue in cheek, where you're like, it's still bad, gotcha again, Bleach fans, and like you kind of do that other thing later where he's like, look how easy it is to just flip the script and make it suddenly a ulterior motive sort of thing. Those moments don't necessarily land on me. I'm not a very keen viewer like that. I usually take those not as jokes, but as serious, usually. Which I shouldn't. That's my bad as a viewer, I guess. But those moments don't really rub me the right way, usually. But like I do, it from what it was sounding like, especially the way you articulate your problems with Bleach and then compare it to another shonen series. Every single time you bring up another shonen series, it has the nuance that you're good at. You can read into this stuff and you understand the value and what makes these things so good. And I've said this about your previous videos, and I still believe I think it's pretty emblematic of your whole content. You're very good at picking out what's great about something. But when it comes time to criticize something or say something that's kind of lacking or whatever, you just don't really substantiate it or convince. It's not all that convincing. It just kind of feels like Bleach doesn't have that. That's all it amounts to. And it's like, well, was it trying to? You know what I mean? He's like, let's take Yusuke versus Toguro, and he has this great reading of it. And he's like, I didn't get that from Aizen and Ichigo. And it's like, well, that's not the same thing. Like, what little I've seen of Bleach, I know for a fact that Aizen kind of keeps to himself in this room or whatever, and Ichigo's just kind of on the ground on his own and trying to chase up. They don't have that many conversations with each other. I don't think the dynamic of Aizen and Ichigo is the same thing as Toguro and Yusuke, because Toguro and Yusuke have Genkai as the common denominator, right? And there's no character like that. At least I don't think so. In Bleach, I can't imagine there's one like that. That's going to be introduced to me between where I am in Arrancar, which is before Orihime gets kidnapped, and Ichigo just got control of his hollow form. Between that point and when Aizen's ultimately defeated by Ichigo, which, like, of course that's going to happen. I'm not, like, spoiled to that or whatever. It's like, well, no shit. Maybe it would be kind of a spoiler if somebody else took him out. Like, that'd be interesting. Anyway, but, like, clearly that's not... what I was noticing about it, and again, I haven't seen What the What's rebuttal or everyone else's rebuttal about it, really. But, like, from my outside perspective, it seems like you really cared about Soul Society and loved that arc and really put value in what that arc was indicating and implying. You especially like the end of that arc and how that leads off. And you were expecting more. And you were then disappointed by the outcome, right? Whereas that's not where Bleach ends. Like, the Aizen's clearly not the major bad guy, and it's not like, I don't know. Kubo, especially since Kubo has voiced that the manga went the way he wanted it to, and there's been no interview that nobody cited. I'm sure you would have cited it if he said something like this. But if Kubo said, I wish it went this way, but it ended up whatever. If something like that happened, I'm sure Bleach fans would cite that all the fucking time, and there'd be some self-awareness to that. But if Kubo was really satisfied with the way it went, and that means Aizen was by far not the main antagonist, or the end game, the way I think you were expecting him to be. So then what is the end game? And then you look at what Kubo does, and there's the Fullbring arc, I think is what it's called, where Ichigo doesn't have his powers, and he's working to get him back, basically. Realizing that, he found empowerment and he kind of needed them, because otherwise his life was kind of aimless, or that's at least the reading I've sort of, what I'm thinking it is. I haven't experienced it myself, and I believe that was what the was saying about, because I remember him talking about that particular arc, and I guess a lot of people don't like that arc, and it makes complete sense, and I think Eyepatch Wolf very articulately explains people's problems with Bleach, and that's why it's largely very agreeable. But then that's what a lot of people don't see about Bleach. I think, especially if they reread it and they still have those impressions, I don't think they get it. That's the kind of thing. I think it's, coming from a newcomer perspective who wasn't growing up on this 10 years of build-up, you say, it's not really 10 years of build-up if you're coming at it from a newcomer perspective, right? If Bleach has been done for years, I'm not coming into it thinking, oh, it's been the huge build-up with Aizen, or we've been waiting forever, or whatever. I haven't been thinking that. But, that's the thing with storytelling, right? And there's a lot of tunnel vision that happens in Shonen Jump consumerism, where you're experiencing the story as it's being told, literally on the bleeding edge, like a lot of people with One Piece right now, right? I think a lot of people were suffering. For example, this is just an example. I have not read or watched One Piece, but I remember how much suffering fans had with watching the anime during the Dressrosa arc, because it was dragged out for however long, and maybe they were feeling that in the manga as well. And you don't see the end of the tunnel, and you get kind of like, what the fuck is going on, right? But then if you are a newcomer and you experience Dressrosa, maybe it's a completely different experience if you just kind of binge it all the way through, instead of drip feeding it week to week. It's a different experience altogether. That's why I think these rereads and rewatches are very critical for a lot of these people, a lot of these fans, especially if they're older, right? A lot of these people did it when they were teenagers in high school or something, and it's important to reread it. And I'm glad Super Eyepatch Wolf actually reread it and rewatched it for the most part. But I think he was still coming into it with those expectations. I'm not sure if he did any outside reading. Not like you need outside reading, but I definitely think that, some people who are fans of Bleach, I think if they tell you what the value is in the Fullbringer arc and it doesn't seem like a retread, but like a lot of the details I felt were very glossed over and generalized, and I just didn't feel convinced by what you were saying about Bleach, even though I haven't watched all of it myself. I noticed that the parts that you cared about, the Soul Society arc and those initial episodes, you had all that detail and you had all that care and thought put into them. And then when you get to that part you don't like, you're just like, I don't know what these characters are. And for like the point I can remember is you were complaining about how a lot of the Arrancar don't have the same kind of attention to detail in their backstories or whatever, the way that the Soul Society does. For one thing, they get killed off very quickly after they're introduced. So what would the point be of doing that? Whereas Soul Society, Kubo actually does clearly care about these characters to where he's going to give them full arcs throughout the whole series, and they'll be fulfilled in Thousand Year Blood War arc. So of course they're going to get these detailed backstories in Soul Society or whatever. But secondly, isn't it to my knowledge, I mean, I haven't read Arrancar yet, right? But to my knowledge, the Arrancar are previous hollows that kind of got their sentience back, or there's something to that, right? But like, isn't it the point that like they don't really have those backstories, or they don't remember who their previous selves were, so they wouldn't have this like detail or anything like that? Like the stuff that you're asking for, the dynamics and the stuff, everything that the Soul Society has, I don't expect that out of the Arankars, because the Arankars are monsters pretty much with newfound sentience. I thought that I'd probably be wrong. Again, I haven't read it. I'm very transparent about that. But like, aren't they not supposed to have that? So like, why would you expect that? Anyway, that's just one point. Example. It just felt like a lot of generalization and a retread of a lot of the ideas you had. And what did bring this up. I am also glad that you kind of debunk this like Kubo doesn't draw backgrounds meme, because his art is still very good, and it's just a matter of where he puts the emphasis and importance, which is in the characters. The characters are incredibly well detailed and well realized visually in the manga, and it's not like he's caring that much about the backgrounds, and that's okay. It's just a difference in priorities. Anyway, yeah, I mean, it wasn't a bad video to the degree where I was irritated by it. But I am disappointed that, you know, he would come back. I also like that he unlisted the video for sure. I like that action. And again, I think the metatextual reasoning behind this video and the way he handles it, I think was good, and shows a lot of maturity. But I don't see it with the rest of it. I don't think he scored another W here out of an already very successful year. I think once you acknowledged your burnout and you took a step back and really focused on the videos you wanted to make, I think it was really great that you made the videos you made this year, and I think all of them have been very good. I think pretty much all of them I liked. So, you know, not a big deal, but yeah, I didn't think you did the best job on this one personally. Can't wait for Fall of Bleach 8 years later. Or 4 years later after that. I don't know. That was not the only video I gave a not good to, but I will say this one, full transparency, I did not even listen to all of it. I think I got maybe 15 minutes in and I turned it off. I didn't. So I probably shouldn't list it in here, but it's still kind of an interesting moment this week that I wanted to highlight, but I'm sorry I didn't want to listen to all of it because I actually couldn't stand it. I'm so sorry. Fiend versus that anime snob. Full debate, English dubbed. Just a conversation that Fiend had with Snob, and the visuals are just kind of him filming himself in the conversation and Snob over Discord or whatever. And it's very raw, pretty unedited Discord call from what I noticed. And it doesn't have the best like-dislike ratio either, and I don't know how satisfied Snob was with it. It doesn't seem like it based on his upload, I guess. He's like, you know, debates are useless or whatever. He didn't seem to have a very fruitful experience, and I think a lot of that, unfortunately, has to do with Fiend, which he mentions in the description and in the comments and stuff like that, where he does kind of interrupt Snob a lot, especially the part that I watched, and more of a turnoff for me was how aggressive and combative Fiend was, and he's, you know, when he disagrees about something, he was very quick to disagree and sharply kind of rebut Snob. But like it was like 15 minutes, and all they talked about was the kind of the semantics of what was retro, and I think like Fiend was really trying to get to the heart of why Snob considers retro better, which, like, I don't think he was all that substantive. He didn't let Snob talk all that much, and he was giving a lot of like straw man arguments of like, it was just really frustrating to listen to as a debate, as a conversation between two people. It didn't feel like in all that good faith. Personally, it didn't come off to me as. I mean, you know, I've said my things about Snob, and you know, I respect him a lot, and he's a lot of the reason why I'm here and have watched all this stuff myself. I think there's a lot of value to what he can offer, but you know, he's not the most uplifting voice to listen to. He can also be very grating and irritating, but I don't think he, from the chunk that I listened to, I don't think he was the guilty party in this particular instance. Unfortunately, Fiend. At beginning, I'm still very happy you gave a debate at all. I think it was very interesting. I think these conversations are always very valuable and worth highlighting. I like these sort of things, but I don't think it came off all that successful to me. I was pretty disappointed by it. So yeah, no, I'm sorry to include it in include a video I didn't watch all of, but it was an hour, and I didn't really want to. I'm sorry, it was just too much. But yeah, I what can you do? Oh well. I got a request video from Kuiper. Wanted me to talk about a video from about a year ago from Kurosai. This video called Rapstar Review, which is a Review Starlight video. Basically kind of a shitpost, but like a very interesting, different type of shitpost where like a lot of different voice acting talent and bit of an AMV sort of montage going on here, and it's basically kind of like taking the rap, like the aesthetics of rap, and the different personalities that they have, and applying it to Review Starlight. Basically, kind of like all of them are there, and kind of taking the aesthetics of yeah, it's very self-explanatory in that regard. It was weird to me. I thought it was very hard to parse what was going on at first. Like, what is it trying to do? What is this? But like, it is very imaginative in that regard, and very has a lot of energy and personality to it. But I don't know how successful it was for me, especially just because it has very little to do with Review Starlight itself. Not that that's a huge problem. I'm not the biggest fan of Review Starlight myself, and that wasn't necessarily because, and that isn't necessarily why this video doesn't quite hit it off for me. I just couldn't really parse what it was trying to do, and then I think half of it is this like pretty general swooshy type of AMV edit, which has, it's pretty well polished. The pretty contemporary AMV with sound effects and constant cuts and adjustment layer zooms and stuff like that. It's a good time in that regard, I guess. And a good artistic sort of thing. But yeah, it was just sort of confusing to me personally. I was like, what are we doing here? It's kind of cool. It's certainly very unique. But that was as much as I could make of it. I'm a little baffled of it personally. But okay, I'm going to talk about some videos I thought were decent. Pretty decent. It's very self-explanatory. The first one is from this AMV user PG Beast, Naruto AMV, suicidal with sob emojis. And there's not much to say here. It's just, I just had it in my watch later, and I'm like, yeah, let's check it out. And I never really give videos like AMVs like a not good, because I always like the effort behind them, and I always enjoy AMVs to some extent. The music choice and anime here are, I guess, sort of cliche, if I was to put a word to it. Naruto, in particular, what they're focusing on, I have not seen Naruto, but it's in the Shippuden era, kind of the pain sort of era. But I think they're focusing on multiple different scenes around Great Ninja Arc. Again, I have not seen Naruto, but so a lot of the clips that they were using were very out of context and situational. I think it's very much having to do with using the emotions of the song, very melodramatic and sad oriented, to illustrate some of the various scenes in Naruto Shippuden that are equally sad, I guess. But like I don't think there was necessarily a correlation with all of them. There was a nice looping like kind of a beginning and end sort of parallel, where the beginning I think has like Naruto's dad dying or one of those that character. Again, I have not seen Naruto. And the end of it has Naruto with somebody else dying, and he's seeing all these other people die around him, and I guess maybe a vision, or it might be real. And so it kind of has a little looping thematically thing, kind of tying it all together. The AMV is very standard clip selection with black and white filter, with some subs. Not all subs. I think they were still very selective with what quotes to use. I guess maybe they could have used some of the vocal audio. I don't know how much music was interlaced in those scenes. Maybe they wouldn't have worked, but maybe some voice would have been nice in there as well. Yeah, but like, I liked it. I certainly, I don't usually dislike AMVs, even ones that are like, Naruto rap and there's not much like else to it besides the clip selection and black and white stuff. I still like the expression going on, and it was a fun time. It's not like, it's a sad video, of course, but something kind of neat. A new video from Animator Dormitory channel. They have a video called New Anime Making System Project 2020. I guess it's their announcement video for a Kickstarter, a new Kickstarter by them, which just got started. Yeah. And I guess it is... So, like, the problem, really, is, for on one hand... I love the message I love what this is, representing, and I wish them all the best as usual. But I really am starting to notice it's a lot of repeated information on their end. It's a lot of like just getting the same message out there, and then hopefully it lands on enough ears or different ears, right? And they just get the message out there. I think is really their prerogative. But as someone who's been following their channel for a little while now. Since it started, I don't know how long the channel's been around, maybe close to a year at this point, I imagine. It feels like it's been the same message since the beginning. And what's new here is a sort of a music video. And basically they're going to fund an OP. Like they're going to animate this song that they have, that they featured in this video, with a bunch of different musical artists, I think pretty much all of them English speaking. Which was interesting. And it's a lot of people, a lot of various singers. I think I recognized one singer, but I wasn't too familiar with the stacked talent behind this, but it's a lot of different people. Big operation. And they're basically going to use the funds to fund an opening theme, and then hopefully that becomes sort of a launching pad for a new studio, hopefully. They want to kind of start their own anime studio with, the wages they want to see in the world. And the majority of the video is them kind of reiterating the same points that they've had in their other videos and what the problem is and how they intend to fix it effectively. So there's, it's an announcement for a Kickstarter, so it is something to take note of. But I am starting to be a little disappointed with the how much information they're giving. I get with like non-disclosure agreements, and then, this is a very slow, like the actual industry, hasn't changed that much in this many years. So of course the message is going to stay pretty much the same. But it is a little disheartening in that regard, I suppose, and maybe that's not their fault. But it's something that I've noticed for sure. Oh well, would it be? I am wishing them luck. I thought the song was interesting, kind of good, I guess. I don't have much commentary on it though. But it's something to take note of for sure. Scambooli Reviews tried something different, basically ReZero Season 2. You're thinking it's kind of like ReZero in 8 minutes or whatever, kind of what Gigic did. And he does a little bit with a little bit of lip sync and the fan dubby sort of thing. But it's mostly his commentary. And it's kind of like as if he's watching the show with you. And he has moments where he's like, okay, pause that or something. And it feels like he's kind of making the jokes as the show's going along, so he's including a lot more clips. And it's a lot more observational comedy, which is different for him. It's a lot less like the kind of comedy he does in his previous videos, I think. Which I think more of it lands here. I think he was more effective on a comedy level with some of the jokes and the way he repeats some of them, and his selection, I think. I thought was pretty good. I like the attitude that he shows for some of this, where it's like, It's a combination of him not being frustrated with the show, but also really liking it, or having that kind of anime fan type thing where somebody gets punished and he's like, no, please let this happen to me, or this is funny things like that. Um, so I like that range he shows. I thought it was relatively funny here, and I like the shake up in format. It's a comfy video in that regard. Is it really one season? He's like, we only have 2 episodes left. Is it just one core for season 2? That's crazy to me. I feel like it would have been 2 cores, but would it be if that's the case? I actually don't know. That'd be interesting. He does another one of these. I don't know. But yeah, I thought it was good. Certainly something different from him. I wanted to say was I liked for sure. Otakutariat put out a video today. A couple videos came out today, like around and I recorded later, so that was fortunate for them. But Silence and Mundanity, Legend of the Galactic Heroes. So it's an LGH video that Otakutariat is making here, and specifically focusing on the first movie, My Conquest is the Sea of Stars, and talking about how silence is used in the movie. And he starts it with the commentary of I don't generally like when silence is used in media. I feel like it's sort of a waste of time comparatively. That's just his personal viewpoint, his tastes. But he sees the value that silence can have in the multi-purposeness that it can use in LGH, particularly when moments where music is not being used in moments that it could be used in various conversations. There's a lot of conversations, obviously, in LGH. And he talks about it makes him reflect on his own experiences with war. And he makes a very good point with LGH, they're fighting a war that's been 150 years old, so it's very mundane and routine at this point. And he makes a kind of a parallel to the Iraq War of the U.S. Has been at war for 19, 20 years at this point. 19-ish, more like. And that's, some adults are good. There's a fair deal of adults that are that have never seen the U.S. during a time of peace, because 19 years, all the youth have never seen it before, sort of deal. It's crazy, but I like those observations he made. There's not much else to say about it. But I enjoyed this video in LGH. I know it's not the widest market for it, but I'm happy he talked about it, especially in the context of the first movie. I thought that was very interesting. It was a good job. I wanted to mention quickly Bennett The Sage's update video, which, me and update videos, right? But Ginkotaku also put out a video like this. Not as intense, I guess. But Ginkotaku was more I was realizing I wasn't having really that much fun making the videos I was making, and I didn't like how I was making it with this mental health slant, because it was kind of arduous for me to talk about and deeply personal, and that got very fatiguing. So he's like, if you don't mind, I'm gonna just make the videos I like making, and that's the goal. That's hopefully what you are doing, and to have that self-awareness is very key, and I'm happy you have that. But Bennett is in a kind of more dire situation. Went into his personal life a little bit here, talking about how his fiance's been in Italy this whole time during the pandemic, and she can't, due to some other conflicts, she won't be able to be in the U.S. They won't be able to live in the U.S. Like they planned. They had this whole house set up, and he was just been living in this house by himself that they were going to live together in this whole time. And it's been very difficult and of course it'd be difficult for him. That's so hard. And of course he's been very burnt out with the videos, and realized that he doesn't do anything that really makes him happy in the conventional term, which is very sad. And it's very sobering that he talked. And I'm very happy he was vulnerable. And it's very challenging to make a video like this. I would find it very challenging. So I'm very happy he was able to talk about it honestly and with his audience, and be brave enough to do that. And I'm happy that he found potential solution of wanting to write a novel, so he's hopefully starting that. I hope he does it because I want him to succeed. I want him to do well. I want him to be happy. Because he's done a great job with as much as my problems with him, as I give him an F tier as a anime YouTuber or whatever. As much as my problems with him, he was part of my upbringing with being an anime fan. He's been around for a while, and he's grown a lot of awareness, and he's brought a lot of smiles to a lot of people, and I think he can continue to do that. So I think he does have value. And he's and even if he didn't do that, he's still valuable as a human being, as a soul on this earth. So I'm hoping the success and happiness for him, mostly the happiness, really. Just like, please just hope you're doing better in a mental play. It would suck to see anything happen in the other direction. But he's going to become a full Italian citizen now, and that's great. But I'm sorry to bring it into more personal, bring his personal trouble up in another video and spread that or whatever. But I just wanted to highlight that as a significant moment, I suppose, and hope he does a lot better. Yeah. And I did check out that Mother's Basement video on Captain Tyler. You need to watch The Irresponsible Captain Tyler, and it's a 40-minute video. And some of my mutuals weren't the most happy with it. It's very much like him of a Jeff video with kind of a lot of the plot summary sort of deal, and not getting a lot of new information that that these fans of mine, that mutuals I have, didn't already know. Understandable, but it's he's introducing it to a new audience that probably I might have never heard of it before. They may have also not liked that he used the dub. I mean, I like the dub, sure, but some people don't. Would it be? And he does recommend watching it twice in both sub and dub. So it's like you could have used it. I don't know, whatever, not a big deal. And I like that it was informative. There's light compliments I could give to the presentation of it. I don't think there's anything too, wowie, knock my socks off kind of deal about it in this regard. But I like positive videos like this. He was very smitten with the whole show, and I like that he went into detail about his three favorite female characters, and he mentions how there's so much he had to cut from the script. You can tell he likes the show a heck of a lot. Really praises the production behind it and the backgrounds in the animation. Gives a miniature "What's in an OP" video inside this video, which he calls "Old School Mother's Basement," which is like, damn, that's hard. It's like that's what you're good at, though. Anyway, and he does a great job with that too. I think he does a great job analyzing that OP personally. And it was nice to see that sort of video from him, especially one that definitely isn't going to get a whole lot of views. It was great to see. So it's also it has like a promo code for the for rights of release of it, which is also really great to see. But I guess some people might be fully on board with it, but I thought it was decent. I thought I liked it, but it's similarly bloated, like a lot of Jeff's videos can be oftentimes, but I thought since it was all positively oriented, I enjoyed it. Okay, but let's talk about what I considered were the best videos of the week. Ones that I really liked watching. It was like, hey, what a fun time. The first one is actually from AnnoCinema. This video is going to be removed in a couple of days and replaced with the same video, but with subtitles. It's a Daikon interview. I guess it's a video that AnnoCinema had. Just had. Their whole channel is dedicated to Hideaki Anno and various videos behind the scenes of him and getting to know more about him. It's not so much video essays as it is just actual content of Hideaki Anno, which is incredibly valuable. And not a lot of it's subtitled. But including this, which was not subtitled, but he had a GoFundMe. AnnoCinema had a GoFundMe, start to assume your gender. And I provided half the funding for the subs, and somebody else was kind enough to do the other half, and so we got it funded within the day, and we're gonna get subs for it very soon, which is very, very exciting. I guess it has an interview. It's an interview with Hideaki Anno. Seems to be a very young Hideaki Anno, with Hiroyuki Yamaga and Toshio Okada as well, talking about Daikon 3 in particular. I think I'm not sure what side, maybe Daikon 4 as well, but in the early stages of Gainax, and I thought that maybe we don't know how much of it is going to be older information or new information, but I think it's still very valuable to have. And so I love that AnnoCinema uploads things like this. I actually cite several videos of his. Sorry to again assume the gender of in my Gurren Lagann video. So I'm very grateful for what he does, for what AnnoCinema does. I watched a video from today from Kinetic Literature. Kuiper and his editor, I'm sorry, forgot. Angel Beats, exploring tragedy through comedy, which I really liked the angle for, because a lot of people talk about Key as the emotional side, and I like that Kuiper used Arcada's video on Angel Beats. It's like, Key's not supposed to be comedy. It's like, well, actually, it's actually a lot of comedy in Key's works, and I like that he talked a little more detail about Key's background. Jun Maeda specifically. I shouldn't just personify Key. I'm sorry. I don't know why. I think that's a mistake I have in my How to Anime video. I actually kind of personify Key. I don't really give a name to Jun Maeda. I don't know why. Oh well. But yeah, Jun Maeda includes a lot of comedy in his videos. In his anime and visual novels. And Angel Beats is a very special case where it was an anime before the visual novel, so he has a little more personal connection to the anime itself, which is interesting. And so there's a lot more comedy in it in that regard, because there's more visuals, like more animation to it. So they have more stuff to do than a visual novel might, right? Which I really like. I thought it was a really interesting angle, and I really like that that Kuiper was able to talk about the comedy in the context of what Angel Beats is known for, which is making you cry, right? Kind of focusing on a particular episode or scene, I believe. I haven't seen Angel Beats myself, but this has been a very good reason for me to get around to it sooner. I have wanted to get to more Jun Maeda works. That is a subset, a very popular subset of anime culture in that regard. But I was very happy to see that in that angle. I thought Kuiper did a very good job with it, and I thought the editing was very clean in that regard too. Very good job on that. Best of luck on the video game that they are involved with. At the end, they were like, we have this other game that's out, has similar ideas with death and everything, and has music by Kevin Penkin, and we've worked on it for this long. Please check it out. It's like, holy shit, that's awesome. So best of luck on the game. And I thought that was a very good video. And another video I really liked was RagsAnime talking about Rumiko Takahashi's most underrated work, Maris the Chojo. It was a OVA I haven't heard that much about. I've seen around, of course. But it's a very positive take on this overlooked OVA that Rumiko Takahashi's involved with as the original author, I believe. And there's a kind of a number of these little OVAs that she was involved with, like One Pound Gospel is the other one I'm aware of, and there's a couple others. And Rags does a good job kind of summarizing it and kind of leading you through the experience of what makes it so fun. And it doesn't feel like, then this happens, kind of like a nostalgia critic type style or something. It doesn't feel like that. It doesn't feel like he's narrating throughout the whole thing. I like that Rags is kind of like, it feels like you're watching it with him in the same regard as like Scambooli maybe in this week. But Rags is more guiding you through it, and like, this is what's really funny, and it's like, oh, and then she gets her comeuppance, and whatever. And it was an enjoyable experience for me. I really liked it. I like the positive spin. I kind of like the way you summarize it at the end of like kind of the value of this OVA, and kind of like, it's really one of the better space OVAs, right? Which is a lot of them. space-oriented adventures of this period that Rags has seen, and I thought it was a very good sell. So I really enjoyed that. It's a very simple video in that regard, but I really enjoyed it. So check that out. I really liked it. Guess who's back? Back again! It's Beyond the Bot, or as they were previously known, Get in the Robot. They have a brand new channel. They do not have access to that old channel anymore, so there's no way for that old channel to notify their subscriber base, so they need the word to get out, but they already have a very strong patron base, which is awesome to see. They have a lot of people involved here, not as many. It was more of an army to do Get in the Robot at the time, but they have less people, but all the hosts are back, I guess. Got a new avatar and everything, and kind of more of a more vocal, edgier type of vibe. They definitely have a chip on their shoulder. Which is really kind of exciting to me. They do feel like kind of, breaking out of that corporate like thing. They're obviously very bitter about it because, that sucks. That they lost that opportunity, and they lost that huge audience that really appreciated them, and they were building something really valuable there. But hope, I like the support they still have, that they're going to gain back. And they put out 2 videos this week. One of them was sort of the finale, I guess, to their Anime Can't Watch in Public, and I'm not really the biggest fan of that series, so I did not watch it. But this new one, Why Anime is for Black People. I say that's such a fucking white guy, dude. Oh my god. Hip-hop and anime from Beyond the Bot. And I really like this video. To be fair, a lot of the video is information I've heard before, either from Nino's video on hip-hop and anime, which he's covered the same topic pretty much and covered the same influences that stem directly from Toonami, or even from Bonsai Pop's video on Afro Samurai, which I thought kind of dabbled into the same ideas. Even though they're white, the creators there, I felt like they had a really good understanding of the value that Afro Samurai had, and really met the moment, because they released that video at the time where the George Floyd protests were really at their peak, which was a very good video. Love that video a lot. Respected a heck of a lot. But I really like this video from Beyond the Bot and their particular host, which I guess also did a Toonami video as well. And I think he does. I don't know his name, unfortunately, but he seems to be doing a lot of these more culturally sensitive issues, which I really like that he's been brave enough and charismatic enough to really carry without alienating people. I think he has a lot of charm. He also happens to work for Crunchyroll, apparently, which is a really good in and a lot of good resource. And yeah, I really liked it. Unfortunately, there's not much else to say about it. I think the video still feels kind of like the similar Get in the Robot type of thing, except just in the way that he was able to carry himself, and the way they kind of outro with the patrons and everything like that, and talking about it on a more human to human sort of creator to viewer level instead of what they had previously. I thought it was also very good to see. But I'm just very happy that they're back and they're not giving up. And, they see the value that they have in making an inclusive environment and being a voice of majority people of color in this space, which is great. I like the message, and I thought it was well documented. Like, in terms of the resources they were using, I thought it was very valuable as well. Unfortunately, it wasn't the most new information for me, but I still appreciated it regardless, and I thought it was a very good video. Good to see them back. And I will say that this is probably the best video of the week, just on a value level. It wasn't probably the one I most enjoyed, in the same sense, because I think there's certain trappings he falls into that I'm not the biggest fan of, and of course he's definitely not for everybody. I can totally understand that, but I think KrisPNatz put out the best video this week, which is why queerbaiting is biphobic. a Bi Visibility Day special. So for Bi Visibility Day, last year he talked about bi visibility in anime and kind of his favorite bi characters. But this year and I'm sorry to just echo exactly what he says in the video, right? He kind of flips the script and talks more kind of critically about bi visibility awareness and the idea that people accusing shows of queer baiting, which is the idea that they see fans might see an element in a show that they say is gay, and they would say this character must have some gay feelings for this other character, but then the show doesn't fully go through with it. Either they don't go through with that relationship, or they settle in a heterosexual relationship, or what have you, and it lets the fan down, and the queer bait, it baited you, right? And I've seen this definitely laid accusation with Hibike Euphonium a lot. I think I did used to feel that personally, but like not as seriously. I just just a kind of a crass observation. But I see now, especially with the video here that KrisPNatz articulates, it was very biphobic to think that, because you don't know if the character was actually bisexual, if those hints and those things that the show is being accused of queer baiting for, if those moments and those actions by the characters were, they're still genuine. They could still feel that way towards those characters. They could still be queer for them. I'm sorry, I'm not very versed in the LGBTQ plus LGBTQIA plus community. I like that KrisPNatz is very transparent that he's going to say the acronym over and over and over and really lay it on there. He's way more versed in the community than I am. But I liked that he really was coming from a place of perspective, from someone who has really indulged in this culture and in this community, and he's really aware of those things, and I like what he's saying here, because I think it's a very good point, and it's a relatively long video, like 30 minutes, but he's going through multiple points and has a kind of a secret thesis where the idea of queer baiting itself is not even real. It's kind of subjective. It's kind of the viewer's fault for getting their hopes up, or to think they've been baited or whatever, where it's like that's all text that you can indulge in, and you're free to be disappointed, or it's a completely up to interpretation, subjective type of thing. I'm sorry if I'm misinterpreting his argument, but it's just that the idea of a show queer baiting is very ridiculous. It's not their intention, and you also have to realize, especially if you're talking about anime, they have very specific culture that is different from ours, so their intentions are going to be completely different. But ultimately, it should be for the fans to read however they want, and in order to enjoy what they want. Enjoy it how you want, basically. It's a very subjective experience, and don't accuse a show of being lesser than, or of this horrible thing of queer of being some heteronormative whatever, especially when it's bi erasure of bisexual people, where it's like it's this weird pressure that bi people are secretly gay, or not fully homo, or they're doing it performatively. They're just trying to they're just doing it for show. There's a lot of insidious challenges that bisexual people encounter from both sides, from heterosexuals and from homosexuals, of course. Because homosexuals are like, why don't you join our side or whatever? And it's very tribal. It's ridiculous. Bisexuals, it's like they're fence sitters or something, right? But that's ridiculous. It's a sexuality. People should be able to feel however they want to feel. And this erasure and saying that they must, if they're not gay, therefore they must be straight. No, that's ridiculous, right? There's a ton of other things that they could be, but it's all up to the reader in the interpretation. So it's like, in Hibike Euphonium, she's probably bi. She's very likely bi. I believe that I didn't watch his video on his favorite bi characters, but I believe she's in the thumbnail, so it's like he considers her bi. I think that's a very good reading. It totally makes sense, and I think I would appreciate the show a lot more if I realized, I don't know, if I like connected that. But you're totally right that I had this implicit bias, unconscious bi erasure, even though I knew what bisexuals were. It's totally right where there is this it's unintentional for me, but sometimes it's intentional, if they're not heterosexual, they must be homosexual. If they're not homosexual, they must be heterosexual. And it's very ridiculous in that regard. So, I mean, I like KrisPNatz's approach here. He still has the same very affable, I don't know if crass is the word for it, but, like, very animated and, like, some people can find it a little too much. Kind of like Nuxtaku a little bit. I've talked about him in my tier list, of course, but, like, he's an acquired taste for sure. But I really like his energy and his humor, but also just like how much he's really read into this stuff. And it's not like he's citing a bunch of sources or whatever. He's really just coming from the experience of people, and he talks in a lot more detail about other things, like how platonic actions don't necessarily equate to romance. Like, just because they're hugging doesn't mean they're fucking. And also, you have to consider the intent of the series itself. He talks a lot about Haikyuu and the community of that he interacts with Haikyuu, how they ship a lot of people, and there's nothing wrong with shipping people together. That's how people like to enjoy their series. But to be angry that a show is not pursuing a romantic slant when the show is clearly not about that and it's not trying to do anything romantic, to complain about that is very silly. I think is one of the things he kind of said about that, is to expect different things out of a show that's not what it's going for, right? You kind of have to have these reasonable expectations, I suppose. But everybody's, that's why this idea of this myth of this queer baiting idea is kind of a myth to him, where it's you're othering, or you're trying to antagonize the company for doing something that you see as a wronghood, a falsehood, or not a wronghood, I don't know, as something that they did wrong, right? It's like, oh, that was a shitty thing for you to do. Where it's like, well, no, that's sort of the approach that he's going from. It's more from the fan perspective of people accusing X of queer baiting, And I think he gives an example where it's like, yeah, okay, then in this case, that might probably be queer baiting, but that's very rare when it's that transparent. When instances like that are like that, it's very not that common. But I thought it was very valuable in that regard, and I like that he talked about it. So I enjoyed that video a good deal from him and thought it was my favorite that week. This week. This week. But I think that will do it for this episode of AniTube Digest. Thank you so much for watching. My video on Gurren Lagann comes out this week, so I really hope you enjoy that. I've worked on that video since March, since the pandemic began, pretty much. So I really hope you like it. Thank you to my patrons who support this digest, including Beamburst, Hazel, Kuiper, My Anime Pod, Najbeb, Unique Demosaurus, and Yellow Cheese. You guys are great. Thank you so much for listening. You guys have a great week. Yo, peace.